when he was here, Jesus showed us what God looks like on our level. And I don't mean physically, I don't mean what God looks like as a man, but I mean, what does the creator of all this incredible world that we live in, look like on our terms, on our level? I want to read from the Message Bible for a moment, out of the first chapter of the book of John. And I just want everybody just to listen carefully to the word of God and the pursuant love of our Creator. It says, "There once was a man, his name was John, sent by God to point out the way to the life light." Remember that term, the life light. He came to show everybody where to look and who to believe in. John was not himself the light, but he was there to show the way to that light. The life light was the real thing. Every person entering life, he brings into the light. He was in the world was made through him, and yet the world didn't even notice. He came to his own people, but they didn't want him. But whoever did want him, who believed he was who he claimed he was, and would do what he said, he made to be their true selves, their child of God selves. These are the God begotten, not blood begotten, not flesh begotten, not sex begotten. The Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood. We saw the glory with our own eyes, that one-of-a-kind glory, like Father, like Son, generous in and out, true from start to finish. John pointed him out and said, "This is the one that I told you was coming after me, but in fact was ahead of me. He's always been ahead of me, has always had the first word." We live off of his generous bounty, gift after gift after gift. We got the basics from Moses, and then this exuberant giving and receiving, this endless knowing and understanding, all of this came through Jesus, the Messiah. No one has ever seen God, not even a glimpse. This one-of-a-kind God expression, who existed at the very heart of God, has made God plain as day. And so, by sending Jesus into this world, God showed our little finite minds what he looks like on our level. And it always trips me out when people get frustrated or even leave the faith, right? Because they can't explain everything that has to do with God. And it's like, obviously, we're trying to understand an infinite and amazing God within the constraints of our little finite minds and temporary minds that understand 5 little senses. If I could comprehend and understand all of the dimensions and characteristics of God, I would know that there's something wrong with that theology. That it's just a brilliantly formed concept or idea of which I can understand if I just try hard enough. But the intricate perfection that we see all around us in what he's created, the immense beauty of love and its expression inside of our hearts, and the miraculous cohesiveness of all that God is doing around the world points me to the fact that God is incomprehensible and amazing and mysterious. But God reveals part of that mystery as to what he looks like in our terms through the life and person of Jesus Christ. And I've used the analogy before. It's like if I was an ant farmer, right? And I love these ants because this is what I do for a living, and I take care of these little ant hills, and whatever you got to do to set that whole deal up. And then I find out in my little village that the dam broke, right? And there's a flood coming that's going to get these ants, it's going to wash away their whole little world inside of that hill. How in the world would I communicate on their level? I couldn't do it because I'm not an ant. And I can't just scream in the hole and say, "Get out, danger's coming, it's drama." They would just be in there living like ants, doing their thing. The only possible way that I could communicate that message that there's hell to tell the captain and a flood coming to wash their world away is if I myself would become an ant and go into that hill and talk to them on their level and tell them, "This is the way home. Let me show you this way home." And that's exactly what God did in sending Jesus Christ to our level in our world to show us the way home. So the first major theme that we see in the life of Jesus is the revelation of what this awesome God looks like in our terms.